Hey everyone, and welcome. We are, all of us, living in a world made of stories. But have you ever really stopped to think about how those stories get built? And more importantly, how they build us? Today, we're going to get into the incredible power of narrative. We'll look at how it can be a tool for healing and finding truth, but also how it can be a weapon for pure deception. So let's start with this really cool idea from writer Mariah Jayas. She talks about her notebooks being filled with fragments of other people's minds. I mean, what a great image, right? She's piecing things together. And this is really the heart of a literary form called speculative nonfiction. This is where writers aren't just giving you the facts, they're trying to make sense of the gaps in between. It's all about exploring that blurry line where memory and history and just a little bit of imagination all come together. And here's what's so powerful about this whole idea. It's not just for professional writers. Nope, we all do it. Think about it. Every single day, we take these little fragments of our own lives, a random memory, a feeling, a conversation, and we weave them into a personal story. It's how we figure out who we are. In a very real way, every one of us is the author of our own reality. Now, just to be super clear, speculative nonfiction isn't about making stuff up out of thin air. Not at all. It's about using our imagination to get closer to a deeper kind of truth, especially when the hard facts are missing or they just don't tell the whole story. It's about filling in those gaps to create a picture that feels more complete, more human. This act of telling a story can be so personal and honestly pretty profound. So let's look at a couple of examples of how people use this power to reshape their own histories, not to lie about what happened, but to find a way to actually live with it. Take this quote. It comes from Anesu Mukomiwa, whose father died in a really sudden, traumatic way that she wasn't there for. Now, instead of replaying that awful reality over and over, she makes a conscious choice. She rewrites it. She creates a new memory, a new song, as she calls it, where she gets to say a peaceful goodbye. She's choosing a better narrative so that she can heal. And here's another just brilliant use of this. Mimi Imuro Van Ausdal wanted to tell the story of Nina, a queer, mixed-race teenager who was held in a Japanese-American internment camp. The problem? That kind of history is silent. You're not going to find it in the official records. So Van Ausdal uses speculative nonfiction to build Nina's story, basically giving a voice to someone who is almost completely erased from history.
So you see, whether we're editing our own painful memories or bringing forgotten histories back to life, the goal here is constructive. It's this deeply human thing we do to create meaning, to find a way to keep moving forward, and to make sure that everyone's story gets a chance to be heard. It's an incredibly powerful tool for good.
Okay, but here's where we take a sharp turn. Because those same powerful tools that let us heal and remember, well, they can be twisted. What happens when the whole point of the story isn't to find truth, but to create a complete and utter lie? Let's see how this plays out in the real world, because it absolutely does. We're going to look at a fraud case from the Delaware Department of Justice that is a textbook example of a narrative being weaponized.
The setup was actually pretty simple. You have a company that decided to build a story, a completely fake narrative, and it was designed to do just one thing: trick small businesses into paying for something they absolutely did not need. They basically manufactured a story of official authority.
And the deception started with the authors themselves. See, the Fata brothers ran their operation under two different official-sounding names. This created this whole illusion of being separate, legitimate entities. But nope. It was all part of the same scam run by the exact same three people.
The story they told was really carefully put together. It was designed to look and feel totally real, all to scam businesses out of $125 a pop. Let's break down exactly how they pulled it off.
First, they created official-looking documents. That's the form of their story. Then they used specialized language, deliberately misrepresenting corporate law to sound like they had authority. This created the plot of their story, a false but very urgent need for these so-called corporate forms. And the climax of their little tale? The unsuspecting business owner paying a fee that was completely unnecessary. It was a perfect, self-contained, and fraudulent narrative. And you know what? Their story was believable. It totally worked. 169 different businesses were convinced by this fiction and paid the fee. It just goes to show you how effective a well-crafted lie can be. In the end, the company got caught and they agreed to a $200,000 penalty for their little storytelling adventure. A pretty big price to pay for a story built on lies.
but the damage they did really shows the power of their deceptive craft.
So what do we have? We've got two very different examples, right? We have writers trying to find a deeper truth, and we have fraudsters trying to build a profitable lie. Let's put them side by side and see what really connects them.
Okay, so right here, you see this stark contrast in why they're telling the story. The essayists, their goal is to understand, to heal. The fraudsters, their goal is to deceive and to make money. The intent could not be more different, and yet the tool they are both using is the exact same thing, the power of a compelling story.
Think about it. Both groups have to craft a believable narrative. They both use specific forms. One uses a literary essay. The other uses an official-looking piece of mail. They both use specialized language. The authors use metaphor. The scammers use legalese. And this is the critical part. Both of them work to establish a sense of authority, a sense of truth. The methods are basically mirror images of each other. So this is what it all boils down to. The power of a story isn't good or bad on its own. It's just a neutral tool, like a hammer. What matters, what defines everything, is the person telling it and why they're telling it. It all depends on the author and their motive, and that is the critical lens we have to apply to any story that comes our way. And that really just leaves us with one final question I want you to think about. From the news you watch, to the memories you replay in your head, to the ads you see every day, what stories are you accepting as true? Who's the author? What's their motive? And how are their stories shaping your world?